make sure you carve out time for you. Make sure you keep priorities. We will say this, yet we act as if it did not apply to us. And the reality is that it does.
I'm Denise Harris, executive coach, leadership consultant, and founder of Denise Harris Leadership. I've spent over 2 decades helping senior leaders and high-performing teams think bigger, lead with real influence, and step boldly into their next level. If you're a woman who sets the pace, raises the bar, and refuses to shrink, you belong here. Welcome to the conversation where ambition meets strategy. Most high-achieving women don't burn out because they're fragile. They burn out because they're exceptionally strong. And nobody ever told them that strength without strategy has a ceiling. Today, we're talking about what that ceiling looks like and how to break through it. My guest is Dr. Marie-Hélène Pelletier, or as she's widely known, MH. And that shorthand is no accident because her entire life's work sits at the intersection of high performance and mental health. MH holds both a PhD and an MBA, and for over 20 years, she has been translating what psychologists already know, but most leaders don't, into practical strategies for thriving at the highest levels. She's a leadership psychologist, executive coach, and senior leader with experience across the corporate, insurance, and governance sectors. Her book, The Resilience Plan, A Strategic Approach to Optimizing Your Work Performance and Mental Health, was named a top 5 book to read by both Inc. magazine and Forbes. And most recently, she took her message to the TEDx stage in her talk, Crossing the River, Resilience in the Age of AI, exploring what rapid technological change is demanding of leaders right now. MH doesn't just study resilience, she's built a strategic framework around it, and today she's bringing that framework to you. Please help me welcome Dr. Marie-Hélène Pelletier. MH, welcome to Promoted.
Denise, I am delighted to be here. Thank you for this wonderful introduction.
It's my pleasure. Now, I want to jump right in because there's so much to cover. In your work as a leadership psychologist and executive coach, what were leaders showing you that made you think the conventional wisdom or thinking on resilience was not enough and needed to be expanded, so much so that you wrote a book about it?
A few misconceptions, really. And the biggest one is the belief that we are inherently resilient, that it is a personality trait. And therefore, if it's a personality trait, I don't need to do anything to grow it, maintain it, nourish it, right? Because it's just who I am. And people come to think that in part because they've gone through all kinds of very challenging times with resilience. And they say, well, look, this is what I've done. And even people around them will say, oh, you are so resilient. You're the rock of the family. You're the rock of the team, of the group of friends. And so, yeah, all of these messages end up nourishing the belief that it's a personality trait. Therefore, I don't need to do anything about it. And we know it isn't. It's a state. It is connected to some personality traits. Like if we tend to have a personality that's a bit more optimistic in nature, we know from research that it actually increases the overall chance that we'll tend to be more resilient. But even then, it's still a state. So it will vary in different contexts, different times in life, and we can impact it.
Many of the women who listen to this show are typically the most capable, the most dependable, the most high-performing women in the room. What is it about being that person that makes resilience harder, not easier?
It is that you're doing all these things. You're being resourceful, capable, providing advice, making things happen, all the things that you're doing. And in this moment, everything seems fine. And so that's where you keep your focus, basically. And there's always so much to do. And people tend to be turned towards others a bit more, maybe a lot of women were raised that way as well. So it makes it even more present there. And so we think, oh, I don't need anything myself. I need to help others. Others be more resilient, others perform, just external. And so there, you just do that. You forget about yourself. Now, as this keeps going, basically what starts happening, especially as we progress through even more exciting, but also demanding challenges and priorities and opportunities, the demands keep building. And demands being maybe things at times we don't want, but also things we do want. That promotion, that next big client, all these wonderful things, they are demanding more energy. So if we could just keep piling them in and we don't increase the supply of energy that we give ourselves, hence our resilience, then the disconnect becomes broader. And initially we don't notice it. We just think, oh, even more of a challenge. I can do this. And then it keeps going. And at some point it's like, oh, this is not so much fun anymore, but okay, put my head down, keep going. And eventually it feels overextended, and that starts being unpleasant. And of course it keeps going in that direction.
It makes me think about a rubber band that's just being pulled too tight. And I know that you emphasize that resilience is not a personality trait, but instead it's a strategy. But how can the belief of I'm strong, I can handle it, I can continue to do more, I need to do more, how can that quietly undermine someone's long-term leadership trajectory? I imagine that part of it is mindset.
Yes, yeah, it does. And the interesting things is that, and I'm pretty sure a lot of women and people in general listening to us will perhaps relate to this, that we are in these modes where we're thinking, yes, I can do more, bring it on, I can do this, da, da, da. And yet, when we are talking to people around us, our direct collaborators, people in our teams, peers that we're speaking to, we will say to them things like, make sure you manage yourself as well. Make sure you carve out time for you. Make sure you keep priorities. We will say this. Everyone, you probably say this, other people, we say this to others. Yet we act as if it did not apply to us. And the reality is that it does. So that's, and if we provide this advice, we really believe it, actually. We'll do everything to support it and encourage others to do it because we know the impact. So there's a bit of that belief that somehow all of this does not apply to us. Magical.
Yeah.
No, it does. It really does. Yeah. And people sometimes will realize this if it has happened to someone close to them, their partner, their best friend.
Before. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You write in the book, MH, that being smart, strong, successful, and resourceful is not enough. The immunity you think you have is not real, and the protections you think you have in place are not permanent. This line is striking, especially for high-achieving women who have built careers on being capable and reliable. So when you say the immunity we think we have is not real, what are we misunderstanding about strength?
Yeah, this assumption that it's static or that it's a personality trait or some version of I have it and it will never change. And no, it's based on context. It's based on how are we nourishing it. It's influenced by a number of variables, many of which we have control over if we pay attention and if we're strategic related to them. That's all, really. And so, yeah, we are resourceful, capable, able to do all these things. And yeah, we probably have some things that protect us. The only piece I'm adding is just don't go too far and assume that therefore it's going to be there forever and you don't need to do anything about it. You're that fabulous right now. That's great. Let's nourish the right things in a strategic way so that it becomes doable in a busy life, such that you stay that fabulous and provide even more fabulousness to the world.
Well, let me take a step back. Here's what I'm curious about. How does anyone know the difference between going through a hard season? Because things are happening in the workplace right now, right? I mean, rifts are going on, internal changes are happening. I mean, it's chaotic. So how do you know the difference between going through a hard season and genuinely running out of fuel? Are there some signals that women in particular tend to miss or explain away?
Yeah, and I'm pausing, listening to your question, because it is a great question, and I probably is a way that many people think, because it's as if we're thinking, well, if it's just going through a hard season, I'll just put my head down and it will finish, kind of thing, in some ways. But these two are actually not two different things. I would say anytime we're going through, say, a hard season, a more demanding time, especially now in the age of AI and the age of not just AI, other more chronic demands that are there longer term, political, economic, and all this, it's not anymore like it was a while back where you could have a phase that is short in time and then it will finish. There will likely be more things during it and after, so it won't necessarily finish, number one. And so first on that part, is this a hard season? If it feels like a hard season, it probably is. And therefore, in this hard season, let's make sure we nourish our resilience right there. So we don't just put head down and say, I'm not going to sort of eat for 2 weeks because I'm on a big project. No, we're on a big project. We're eating. The other analogy I use sometimes, I am a one-time marathon runner, many, many years ago. And I've always, before I ran the marathon, I was thinking, wow, people slow themselves down by like taking this banana and eating it kind of thing, just to like, and of course you want to take the banana. Take the banana, unless you're, running the marathon in 2 hours, maybe you don't. But normal people, the rest of us, yes, you need to nourish yourself as you go. So that's the hard season piece. And you could be running out of fuel in a hard season. You could also be running out of fuel in a quiet season because maybe you're just out of a busy one.
But what does that look like? Like I understand, like being in a hard season, work is crazy. We're doing additional hours. We're exhausted. I mean, I imagine, does it manifest its way in being, more irritable, in being tired, in feeling fatigued when you just woke up? Like what does burnout actually look like? And at what point should I start even thinking about, oh, am I resilient or not? Like how do I get from point A to point B?
Yeah. So to your last point, think about it now, about am I resilient or not? Always good to check in. You want self-awareness, basis of even emotional intelligence, right? But concretely how that looks like, you gave great signs. Yes, we'll notice it. I mean, first, the definition of burnout itself. There is a definition. It's an occupational phenomenon, 3 main characteristics. We're exhausted. Okay. We are cynical. So nothing's ever going to change. I've lost hope or all that. And it's starting to impact your performance. So concretely, when we're exhausted, we're going to see concentration go down. You're reading something and like, oh my God, I remember nothing of what I just read. You have to reread it. Or someone tells you something, you're like, wait, what? Repeat this. You were not there. Concentration. Sometimes you'll see it in the change in how you make decisions. So usually you're a very thoughtful decision maker. Now you're going fast. Or usually you're a fast decision maker and now you're like, oh, I don't know. So it's a change. Yes, you may see it in irritability. Sometimes people will only look for irritable moments at work and say, no, I'm fine. I'm my usual self. Look for irritability outside of work. Were you abrupt with the barista at the coffee shop, which you never do? Oh, that's a change. We want to notice this. So these are signs there. The cynicism, the way it's going to show up is you don't feel excited anymore. You don't feel like anything can change. You don't feel you can influence any of this. The love or passion for what you do is gone. Mm-hmm. And then on the performance side, you'll see it. All of us have at times things falling through the cracks. Unfortunately, we try not to, but it can happen. However, you're reaching a new caliber of this. You're seeing more things than your usual fall through the cracks. The types of things that are falling through the cracks are bigger. You now sent the proposal to the wrong client. Okay. Not the kind of thing you usually do. You want to listen to this.
All right. So it sounds like burnout sort of creeps in.
It
It's
creeps.
a bit insidious, if you will, and you
Yes.
have to kind of notice some of the subtle signs, right? Like getting aggravated in spaces where you never would, making simple mistakes when typically you're a detail-oriented person. So it's the little things that start happening to you that sort of lead to a bigger thing, which is full burnout. So once I'm there, I'm exhausted. I can't concentrate. All right, how does resilience kick in? Are there some habits that I need to develop? Should I go for a walk in the morning? I mean, what are three things that we can do to sort of shift the trajectory so that even if I can't stop the workload, I mean, I still got to pick up my kid after school. I still got to be at that 6 a.m. meeting. I mean, those things aren't going to change, but I guess change starts with us, right? I mean, change starts with me. So do you have some recommendations on things that I could do differently, habits that I could begin to develop?
We do. We being the research, absolutely. And, I would say the best time to start these things is if you're feeling fine right now, now's the time, because you're going to basically elevate your baseline so that when more demand comes, you're starting from higher baseline as opposed to staying here, you're still fine, and then more things happen and you go below the water, right? So from a research perspective, and there are a number, I'll start with the four biggest buckets, if I can say. And you'll see, I mean, anyone right now could name them. You people listening to us today, the challenge is not in knowing these four, it's in implementing them, hence being strategic. So we'll get back to this. But we're looking at exercise, three types of exercise: cardio, strength training, and meditative type activity. Meditation, yoga, tai chi, these kinds of things. Okay. Second category, nutrition. How, and a quick way to think about it, how colorful is your plate? We want color in the plate. The most researched diet is the Mediterranean diet, lots of leafy vegetables, green, that kind of thing. But you want colors. Sleep 7 to 9 hours a night. So different people will need different things, but we're wanting to prioritize sleep. Useful now, useful for long-term cognitive function in our much later years in life. So it's good investment. Okay. And the fourth one is relationship. Spending time with people we enjoy spending time with. So right now, you may have an audience person saying, oh yeah, great. I'll do that. I'll do that one action. I'll book a lunch with a good friend for like 3 weeks down the road. Great. She's available. I'm available. Wonderful. What happens when we are the day before? Classic. We're busy. One of us contacts the other and says, you know what? I don't think I can make it. Can we reschedule? Blah, blah, blah. And there you go. That nice variable that could have influenced your and her resilience is now taken out of the equation. What I often say is, treat that lunch the same way you would treat an appointment with a specialist physician that you've been waiting for 6 months. Would you just call and say, I've been busy, sorry, busy work, and I have to reschedule? You would make it happen. And you would go. And amazingly, we'll all relate to this, you would come back. And actually, you'd be like, there's just as much work, nothing terrible happened. We figure it out. We've done this before. Some of it will be about prioritizing and putting ourselves on the top of that list.
And also just ensuring that you don't have to wait until you're burned out to sort of, keep making yourself healthy, right? I mean, keep taking care of yourself, lift your awareness around what you need. I mean, you said exercise, right? Nutrition, sleep, having good relationships, keeping your connections. Like those are all things that we should be doing anyway, right? But what you're saying is, do that now. Don't wait until you're exhausted and you see the signs of burnout, because it'll be less harmful if you're ready for them.
That's right. That, and also when we are far on the burnout scale, when going to work, you're crying in the car. At that moment, even if you said, I'm now going to do these 4 things really, really well. And there are others, like time in nature, for example, going for walks in nature is one. Volunteer work is something else. Of course, we're not going to do that when we're fully burnt out. But the reality is that when we're there, then yes, it's still good to do these things. But by then, the first thing you need to do is connect with two resources. Connect with someone on the physical health side, your physician, nurse practitioner, to check in on all the things that may be also contributing to how you're feeling.
Right.
Sometimes some things going on from the physical side, hormones, thyroid gland, iron deficiency, vitamin D. They'll find things sometimes, and it's useful to know and act on. And then you connect with someone on the mental health side, your psychologist, counselor, social worker. If you want, instead, start with your coach who can help you connect with the right resource. Start with your spiritual leader, that's who's in your life. But you want to reach out, because when we're here at the bottom of the burnout barrel, it's hard to think.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right about that. I have a client right now who she's got a very significant position in a very iconic organization. She had some surgery, came back, I think probably sooner than she needed to, but the work was waiting for her. And I think there was angst building up, just knowing that the work was piling up while she was away. And I could tell the difference just in the way that our conversation was going when we last chatted. I think for some women, they worry that focusing on resilience makes them look softer or less competitive. What would you say to the leader who equates resilience work with reduced ambition?
Oh, well, and I've heard this as well before. So often what I'll ask that person, I'll say, who are either your mentors or people you admire or the most senior person in your organization? Think about that person. What do you know about them? Are they making time for exercise? Are they protecting time to go to someone in their family's show or something that they want to support them with? And they'll often pause and say, well, yeah, they're doing these things. Mm-hmm. And does that make you think that they're not ambitious or anything like this? No, it doesn't. And these are things that you encourage your team to do, because that's part of actually what will allow us to perform better, to be more creative together, innovative, deliver even more. So it's sometimes just taking this moment of stepping back and looking at, is that actually real, or is this an assumption I've been making?
Yeah.
Because the reality is that no, it's not an assumption. And the other piece too is that it's not like this will take over your life and become all you are. You will continue to do all the things you're doing.
Yeah.
All you're doing is you're infusing micro actions at times. Sometimes there are bigger actions, but you're infusing this in your daily and weekly actions, activities, schedule, such that you're nourishing the overall system. And by overall system here, it's in part you, in part the team that you lead and the team you're part of, the organization you're part of, because resilience is not just individual. It is connected to the system, the context we're in.
No, absolutely. And I think what I'm hearing you say is that you have to slow down, right? I mean, a big part of it is slowing down in order to speed up. But if you're constantly, just sort of running and living, in this fast pace, it's hard to recognize some of the things that you've been talking about if you don't slow down enough to understand what's happening.
And so between you and I, Denise, yes, I agree. Now, for everyone else, we hear slowing down, and maybe even you and I personally, when I hear MH slow down, there's nothing I like about this. Yeah. I like it fast.
Slow down. What? I mean, who has time to slow down? I've got too many things going on. I'm going to miss out on something.
That's right. So sometimes I'll invite just a shift in perspective and say, maybe take a moment to take perspective. And truly, if we're going to talk about speed, and let's say the highest speed is on a 0 to 100 scale, we like it at 100. What I'm saying is just bring it down to 99. And 99. And so, okay, you're not asking me to go at 20. No, I'm not. I'm really not. All we need is to bring it down a bit, little distance, right? We don't need a lot. Just that little distance that says, hey, I have not been eating anything healthy for me today. Time to make sure I make a different choice. Hey, I haven't walked outside for a moment. I'm going to join this meeting 5 minutes late. I'm going to tell them I'm going to be late. I'm going to step outside. So it's making these choices, and there are others we can talk about. So I'm not asking for a big slowdown. It is between you and I slowing down a bit, but not a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. I have to ask, MH, for myself and for the listeners, what is the long-term professional cost of running on overdrive for too long? Even if promotions continue in the short term, even if things are looking good from, my career and, I'm elevating, I'm getting the big projects, I'm getting the exposure, but what's the long-term effect of sort of running at this pace and not recognizing it?
Yes. Yeah. Often what I see in my work, you probably see it too, but we see it in research as well, is that it's so busy that, and it is an area that we're excited about and we like. So then we go fully into it, which feels great in the moment when your head is only there. The reality is that all of us have a number of values, things that are important for us in life. If this is what we love, it's going to be one of our values, however we call it, whether it's power, influence, financial security, whatever it is. But there are things that excite us in this, and that's wonderful. And we likely have another 10 more values, other things also that are important for us in life. And the danger is that now we're putting all the focus here, not investing in the other pieces. It is less balanced by definition, but also we know from research on happiness that part of what contributes to happiness is having clarity on our values and making sure we bring them to life in our daily and weekly life choices. So having that clarity, and again, literally, I am talking about instead of 100, step down at 99, take 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'll send you worksheets that go with the book that have these kinds of exercises, very doable, just so you can have that list. And sometimes just that added clarity, and many of leaders have done this work before, but yeah, let's refocus on it. Let's write it down. That in itself, again, that mini 1% perspective can be enough to just say, you know what? Today, I'm not going to just work until I fall asleep on my laptop. I'm going to pause because I know someone important for me in my life has an important event. I'm going to be there.
Yeah. I love that. I love the conversation around values and really just understanding like what is important to you, what drives me, what is meaningful. And I wonder, with that said, for someone who is aiming to, elevate their career, move to the next level in the next 12 to 18 months, what do you think are 2 or 3 non-negotiables that they should build into their resilience strategy? Because that's what we're talking about, right? I mean, resilience isn't about recovery. Resilience really should be thought about as a strategy. So if I'm thinking about that as I'm moving along in my career and I'm doing all the things, are there 2 or 3 non-negotiables that I should, have as my North Star?
So I'll tell you, part of the answer is, okay, there are those 4 variables we talked about earlier and the additional ones of, say, time in nature and these various things. And there's also the notion of the best plan will be unique to each of us because it will be based on our values, which are personal to each of us, our own context, the demands I'm facing in this moment in time. So this is what allows a plan to be even more customized to each of us. Okay, so that's first perspective. That being said, having worked with so many women in high-level roles and in these situations, I'm seeing common patterns. And what often ends up in these women's plans, I'll give you a few. One is we need better boundaries. So, not that we're going to start saying no to everything more, but look for which area of your life you already know feels like you're pushing the limits more than you should. Regularly going to bed at midnight or 2 a.m. with an early wake up just because there's so much to do. You know what? Let's start scaling this down. You probably are not giving your best brain to anything by that time. You've already worked a very full day. It's not ideal. Start scaling this down. How about never in bed later than 12? For example, if you were at 12 to 2 a.m., if you were in 11, maybe it's at 10 a.m. Like just a boundary. So that's an example. So better boundaries. Another one, fairly useful for many women, is to bring in meditation in your life. Now, usually when I say this, people who are honest with me say, MH, I've tried. It's not for me. My brain does not calm down. It irritates me more than anything. If I try with an app, I get angry at the app. Like, it doesn't work. That's a longer conversation, but the short answer is no, you still need it. It is good for all of us. It is the way to calm the brain down enough. Just like when you close all the tabs in your computer. I'll have women telling me, it feels like I have 200 tabs at all times in here.
Yeah.
Right?
I know that feeling.
So, no, need to shut this down. And the perspective shift on this. Sometimes we think meditation should be easy immediately because it's just meditation, we think. Treat it like a sport you've never done. If we've never downhill skied, we're not going to go in a double diamond at day 3. It's just not going to happen. It will take us seasons, plural, of multiple weekly visits to start building that skill. So I usually say, if you're thinking meditation, give yourself a year. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
And another one, exercise.
Yeah.
Physical exercise. And this one, I would say, what women tell me there is, MH, I know, I wish, I feel great when I do it. I don't have time. So again, we're back to now we need to prioritize. And that's back to being strategic given your context. And we need to be agile there. So if you don't have half an hour, the usual response is, I don't have half an hour, so I do nothing. No, I don't have half an hour. What do I have? Do I have 15? Do I have 10? Can I step outside for 2, not move, but breathe fresh air by the door? We want options and maintain the habit.
Yeah, yeah. And you have to make it work for yourself. And I love
That's
what
right.
you said about meditation, because that is a practice. I know that happens for me. Like I feel like I can't slow my brain down, but the more I do it, right? I mean, 10 minutes in the morning time, maybe sometimes even in the evening, I can feel myself sort of focusing on my breathing, if you will, and slowing myself down. But initially it doesn't work because you're thinking it's not going to work.
Exactly. And that's okay. All we need, often what I also say there is change the success criterion from, because being high achievers, we think, well, I will be successful if I've done this moment and I feel relaxed during and after. No, it's not going to happen immediately. Change the success criterion to, did I press play on the app, or did I press, the time alarm on my phone so that I know I'm doing this for 2 minutes? If I did that and tried, even if it didn't really work, brain was going, did I press play? Then this is A+, full gold star success. Did you do it? And then you just keep doing it. And eventually it will do that.
Yeah.
A year, I'm telling you, a year.
Yeah, over time. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. For someone who is listening to this on their commute and they recognize themselves in this conversation, what's one thing that you would want them to do, let's say, before the end of the day?
Oh, well, a couple of options. One could be curious about one action that we've discussed or an idea you had as we were talking that fits for you that you can do. There's any of the things we said, you're like, oh, I could actually try that. Be curious about it and try it. Experiment. If you're like, okay, but give me something now kind of thing. Okay, well, we are all going to wash our hands at some points, many times today. And since COVID, we are now washing a bit longer. So that's pretty good. So let's use that time for deep breathing. So now you cannot tell me, MH, I don't have time, because you're still doing it. All we're saying is while you're washing your hands, you start with all the air out until you have nothing. Keep washing. And then slowly in. You'll probably have time to do that 5 times. And your brain will be very happy. So that's something that's doable.
Yeah.
Yep.
I absolutely love that breathing exercise because you can do that anywhere, right? I mean, I like to do like the 4-8 method, which is where I breathe in, right, within 4 seconds, and then just blow out like I'm blowing a candle out within 8 seconds. And I absolutely love that. And I think it's so helpful because it helps us sort of slow things down, calm our mind. And no one even knows, no one even has to know that you're doing it. Just
Exactly.
breathe. Start
That's
there.
right. That's right. We're intentional about doing it. The brain likes it. And just like if you're hopefully adding meditation to your practice as well, if we do it proactively, when you do it in a reactive way, so you'll now be in a tough conversation and you're thinking, I could just breathe while I'm listening, then your body connects with it even better because you've trained yourself to do that. So lots of advantages. Yes. So that
This
would be
has
the
been
quick, doable today, right now in your car. In fact, if you're
yeah,
listening to us in the car,
anywhere.
do it now.
Yeah. No, that is so good. I really that's so helpful. Strength without strategy has a ceiling. And today, MH, you showed us exactly where it is and how to break through it. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm walking away from this conversation differently than I walked in. Thank you, MH. You have a gift for naming the things that we feel but haven't had the language for. And resilience as a strategy, not a personality trait, is something that I want every person in this community to carry with them.
Thank you so much, Denise. It was an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. So take this one with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it, leave a review, subscribe so you never miss an episode of Promoted. And remember, the next level isn't just possible, it's waiting. I'm Denise Harris, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.